speaking of Donovan Mitchell, do you need to do a read before we move on?
No, we can just get right into this one.
So
Great
speaking
transition.
of Donovan Mitchell, I don't know how this topic even came up because to me this is an insane question.
Guess
But
where it came from?
From the chat or Twitter or something?
Twitter, there you go.
Yeah.
So I was scrolling Twitter over the weekend, and I don't remember.
That's a big mistake.
Scrolling Twitter?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I was scrolling X over the weekend then.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. I actually refuse to call it X. It's Twitter.
Oh, I wasn't saying that because you said
I know,
Twitter.
I
I
was
was saying
making-
because, anyway, go ahead.
And I forget who tweeted this initially. I saw my guy Mac had quote tweeted it, and then it turned into a whole discussion.
Yeah.
But the initial tweet was, man, just imagine if we still had Colin and Lauri, we never made the Donovan trade. I think we'd be further along than we are now in the progression of the Cavs towards their chase of a championship.
Was the person that tweeted that potentially brain damaged?
I don't remember who tweeted it, but I saw that and I bookmarked it because I was like, I bookmarked Mac's response because I was like, I think we could have at least a fun conversation.
Gee, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stupid is that take? 10 being the stupidest?
It's like a 9.5 because that person that made that take probably says that they wanted to start something new after LeBron left.
Yeah, that's definitely the same guy.
We don't need LeBron because we're gonna start something on our own.
You're on the money with that one.
We're on the same page. Just before we go into this, that means we are all on the exact same page. Archie, keep cooking. What are the Cavs if they never trade for Donovan and they have a team built around Markkanen, Sexton, DG, and Mobley? Where does that?
First of all, I told you
and
about,
Allen technically.
When they started talking about keeping the next pick, that was Colin Sexton. That was ridiculous to start with. I think people in Cleveland don't really have they have a very difficult time gauging who's good and who's not. They just really do. Like they just don't like this last offseason it was Porzingis wasn't good. And then I was like, if you let Porzingis go to the Celtics, they're going to be unbeatable. And they look like they're unbeatable. Like, what are you talking about? But if you said, hey, do you want Porzingis in Cleveland? How many people would still say to this day, no? No.
It's a massive upgrade.
I mean, maybe now they'd come around, but you're right. A year ago, most people would have said no.
It'd be no. Like, the fact that you talking about, like, you would have been further along. Let's quit the games.
Further along.
Like, I watched them in a playoff game lose to Trae Young and the Hawks without DeJounte Murray. Yeah. You lost straight up at home to a play-in game to the Hawks. That was and Darius Garland didn't do anything that like they act like, people in Cleveland feel like, and there's no disrespect, like they even overestimate how good your legends were. They're like, oh, the Cavs in the 80s were a really good team. Yeah, they was good. But was they better than the Knicks? No. Were they better than the Pistons? No. Were they better than the Bulls? No. Like, they was medium. They weren't better than the Celtics in the 80s. I could argue they weren't better than the Sixers. Like, you down, it's like now you're down to like 6, 5, 4 teams you're better than. Like, no, you weren't that good. Like, let's keep it a buck. So when you look at them, say Donovan Mitchell, this dude had 70 points in the game. The dude last year, put your team on his back. He was gonna lose to Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah.
He put you on his back to get you out the first round. What are you talking about? Colin Sexton don't even start for the Utah Jazz. Y'all do know that, right? I don't understand, McNuggets.
I actually didn't know that because they're so irrelevant. Who cares?
Yeah, they're like, who? They're in Salt Lake City.
I think the only thing we could say about that trade is it would have been nice if they could have kept Markkanen and traded someone else in a perfect world.
Yeah.
And if they had Markkanen on this team, who knows?
Now,
but to say you'd rather have Sexton and Markkanen than Mitchell is that's beyond them. It's so stupid. It's crazy.
If you could have kept Jared, if you could have said, I'm gonna give you Jared Allen and Sexton. And we got Markkanen, Mobley, and you still got Donovan Mitchell. Now you're cooking.
Right.
Now you're really cooking. Yeah. But that didn't happen. That wasn't the deal. That wasn't the trajectory. That wasn't it. So, no.
It's when I saw that, my first thought was, okay, Sexton and Markkanen are now in Utah with all those picks and Abaji and everyone else. Walker Kessler is not Jared Allen, but he's a solid, traditional, old-school five. He's not Jared Allen. Jared Allen's a better player. Do not get that confused. But he's not a slouch, right? Mm. You have Markkanen. You have Sexton. Jordan Clarkson is another one of their guards.
And we had him.
Yeah.
But he's a different story. But, you kind of see what that team – and listen, adding Mobley and Garland, that certainly makes them better. There's no doubt in the world that adding those two to the Jazz makes them better. The Jazz aren't even relatively competitive with a really good head coach.
Right.
In the Western Conference
Yeah.
with those two as two of the pillars of their team. I can't imagine a world in any scenario where if they stayed in Cleveland and built around that basic core that they're competitive with the Bostons and the Milwaukees when healthy or the Philadelphias, even with the picks. And part of the reason Markkanen flourished in Utah is he went back to his more natural position, which he wouldn't have been able to do here alongside Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. He wouldn't have got the shots and the opportunities he needed to become a guy who's now an all-NBA caliber player. He's a Western Conference All-Star last year. Sexton is a good scorer. Do not get that twisted. He's a good scorer. But someone has to score on bad teams, G. There are more guys in the league now score 20 points than ever before. So is he a really good player or is he a really good scorer because someone has to score? I still don't know if I have a definitive answer on that. And the team would be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun team to watch. It'd be a league pass team for sure. But in terms of competitive nature and the Cavs' ability with that squad to compete for Eastern Conference Finals appearances and hopefully NBA title appearances, there's no question. Donovan Mitchell is the best player, hands down, bar none. Zero competition.
I mean,
if you combine those two rosters today, to take him off it and think you'd somehow be better is asinine.
What did Colin Sexton average, by the way, this year?
I think close to 20 points.
You know,
Let's face it. Colin Sexton is a propped up Dion Waiters. I mean, who are we kidding?
He averaged 19 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. He can score. He can score.
I know.
There's no doubt.
But see, that's where we talk. Meek Mill said this. It's levels to this thing.
Yes.
Like, if you I maybe you guys stopped watching basketball after the Cavs lost. Some of us haven't. Whatever you're trying to conglomerate together, is not beating these other teams.
No.
At all. Like, you're not. Even if whoever came out of the West, even if it was the Timberwolves or the Nuggets or the Cavs aren't beating those teams, right? Like what are we talking about here?
Where are the Cavs if they didn't make that trade? Are they? They're just, to me, they're a play-in team every year.
I think they're between 6 and 10 in the East.
Right. They're a play. They're at best a just above play-in that loses in the first round. They're an okay team. They're a 500 team. They're
with a limited ceiling,
with
too.
That's completely limited ceiling.
And that's the big picture. If you want to argue, hey, they could still win 47, 48 games. Maybe. In the regular season, we saw them win games. We saw them win games last year. They play hard. JB got those guys to play hard. But when you're looking to compete at the highest level, there is just a significant cap on what that team – who's the best player on that team, G?
Like Garland, which is bad. Like Mobley giving you 15 now.
Yeah, I mean, 16. I get the argument from the other side would be maybe Garland and Mobley are better now.
Yeah,
anything's possible. There's no way to know that.
And Sexton's 60% of
whatever.
Mitchell.
If you're gonna be that,
I don't think
in a vacuum.
60%.
No, but I'm just saying you could talk yourself into
the problem with the NBA when you compare players, like, because I don't think I watched Colin Sexton play once this year. If you compare players by numbers, right? In baseball, you could have a whole team where there's no good hitters.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be somebody hitting well. In football, you could have a team with no good wide receivers.
Yep.
You could have a team with no good running backs. In the NBA, somebody's got to score. No team is averaging 50 points a game.
Right.
The nature of the sport is there's going to be a player that scores 20 or close to it almost every time. When you're a bad team, there's going to be players on a bad team that have inflated numbers.
And you can't be a small, this is just my take. Look, if you're going to be a smallish guard, you can't be at 24 a game today. If you're going to be a smallish guard, you got to be Iverson. You need to be 35, 36 every night.
Oh, no one's doing that.
Well, but here's the thing, though.
But I'm just saying, you have to, because that's the only thing you're going to be able to affect the game with.
You said as a team's best player.
Yes.
Okay.
I think maybe not quite that high, but to your point,
Brunson.
I know from a football perspective, I don't look at 1,000 yards the way I used to because they play more games. To me, the new number's 1,200 yards.
I remember.
That's for me, right?
Yep.
Basketball is the same thing, and we don't talk about it. To me, 20 points a game is not what it used to be.
No.
And 40% from three. Not
what it used to be.
No.
To me, it's now 25 points a game is what 20 used to be.
Yes.
And maybe that's not perfect because I don't know the NBA as well. Maybe it should be 24. Maybe it should be 26. I don't know. Maybe I'm saying 25 because it just fits. But 20 is not worth what it used to be.
And especially if you small, at least if Paolo Banchero, I'll give you an example. Yeah. Paolo Banchero 6'10". He's 240.
Yeah.
Like, you see what I'm
He's a
saying?
monster.
He can affect you multiple ways on the court. If I'm going to take a point guard who's not Steve Nash, you better be able to shoot 90 from the free throw line.
Right.
You better be giving me 45 from beyond the arc.
Right.
And you better be able to give me 11, 12 assists.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, dang, he doing.
Yeah, or a guy like Kyrie Irving who is as good at going to the basket as any player in the league, right?
And these are, think about it. These are. So if there's generational players, so you look at it. If you say the Cavs, if you say the 3 best players in Cavs history, you would say LeBron, and then there's a debate on who's better, Kyrie Irving or Donovan Mitchell, right?
Just in their time in Cleveland?
Yes.
Well, if we're doing it just based on time of Cleveland, we got to wait until Mitchell's done.
Right. But like
whatever,
they're very comparable. Like if somebody asks you, who you want, Kyrie Irving or Donovan Mitchell, you would admit that those players are on the same. But the rest of the guys that they got, they're not on that level. They're not and you know, when you watch these guys like the Celtics, they got 2 guys like 6'8", 6 that guard everybody. No.
To answer your question, Bull, what's the new number?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think it's 23.
Okay.
19 players scored 23 or more points this season. And then you have a million between 22.5 and 15.
Right.
But 20-ish players as the cutoff, I think 23. And you even go back to last season, and I'm doing this live here. How many players scored 23 points? 21 players. Yeah. So that's essentially your top 20.
So this year, who is 19th? Who's the 19th highest scorer?
Jaylen Brown, 23 points on the dot.
And who's the next guy after that?
Zion.
That feels like a good line of
demarcation. And then Cade Cunningham is 21st. Yeah, which goes into, do you consider Cade Cunningham an elite scorer or someone scoring?
I think you're right. I think 23 is the new 20.
But here's the thing.
And real quick, here are the guys in the next 10. These are the next 10. You tell me how many great scorers are in this next 10 after that. So Zion's 20.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, 21. Not a score yes. Yeah. Paul George. Paolo Banchero. Jaren Jackson Jr., not a great scorer. Someone has to score. DeJounte Murray. Someone has to score. Yeah. He's a good player, but someone has to score. Yeah. Cam Thomas on the Nets. Someone has to score.
Yeah.
Kyle Kuzma. Someone has to score. Cat and Siakam.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Banchero, who's on the rise, most of those other guys are either on bad teams and somebody's got to score, or they're really good players, but not elite scoring players.
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
Or Paul George, who has other options.
Right, who's older now and whatever.
Now they're not, but you know, more than ever, I do believe that there is a top like 6 or 7 where you look up and you're like, man, Brunson got 30 again, Luka got 30 again, Embiid got 30 again, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that high echelon, like, dang, Tatum got 30 or Jaylen Brown. You see, there's like a 10-ish group where it's like, man, they consistently getting 30, and I'm like, I don't remember. And you go back and you say, I see Kobe or T-Mac or some guys like that getting 30, but it wasn't Iverson. Everybody wasn't getting 30.
No. And Mike, where did Sexton finish in scoring?
49th.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's not special.
Yeah, that ain't it.
All right, Anthony, what do we